Hello, everybody. Welcome to Clash of the Correspondents. My name's James, and today I've got two of my correspondents with me previewing a big game which will be on Monday Night Football. But before I introduce the two guys, we are just a timestamp. It's recording very early evening on Wednesday, and we've just heard the very sad news of the loss of Diego Maradona. Generally, I've just spoke to Chris and Adam off camera about this. We're a little bit quite upset and gutted about it. Suj doesn't know it yet, but we're going to do a pod reminiscing about Diego Maradona's football career on Monday. May him rest in peace. He's one of the greatest gifts ever given to football. So it's on to today's show. Let me first introduce our West Ham United correspondent at FY_FPI123. Chris Stone. How are you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good. Better than this time last season. So I hope you're well. I'm sure you're in the same position as well.
No. I'm in a much higher position than you, mate. And we've also got with us our Aston. You dug your own grave there, mate.
I did.
We've also got our Aston Villa correspondent, Adam Hopcroft at Hopcroft13 on Twitter is with us. How are you, Adam?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, James.
Good. So coming in, Chris, you're in a much better place than this time last year. Why is that?
I don't know. It's just obviously where he's changed the formation. Obviously we've gone well documented, gone to a 5, but it's not been a case of just putting in a defensive, as purely defensive. Obviously we've got rubbish defenders. It's helped us. It's improved our overall play. We're creating chances. So we're just a lot more solid under that. It surprised me because it seems to have come from nowhere. He's got the same group of players, and you've got Cresswell's the prime example. West Ham fans were sort of saying he needs to be out. He's no pace, all this sort of stuff. So I don't know. Moyes just seems to have done something, and I know he's got a reputation of improving or prolonging older players' careers. So he seems to be doing something right. What it is and how he's done it, I don't know, but it's working.
He's very quietly, perhaps not getting too much recognition at the moment for what he's doing, because completely turned you around from the extent that, look, going back into the summer, for both of your clubs, there was a serious possibility that you were both going to get relegated. And Manuel Pellegrini, I think not even a year yet since he's gone. It feels a lot longer ago now. That feels ages ago, mate.
Yeah, it does. It's weird. I mean, I think with the fan base, I think they're gradually, people are coming around to, hold on a minute, we need to give this guy a chance. There's still going to be there's not so much discontent on Twitter and on social media about Moyes. I think it's largely positive. You can't really criticise him. He's done everything that you could have, or more than you would have expected. We've not really brought a lot of players in. Obviously, you've got C.O.T.C, who's kind of agreed last season, Coufal, and then obviously Benrahma and Craig Dawson, who we forget about. So we've not really, other than Benrahma, who was late, we hadn't really signed anyone. So he's done a really good job with the squad that he's got.
As is your manager, Adam, Dean Smith, who I think we spoke about this before the Liverpool game. We were a little bit worried about him. What happened that day? Can we start there first? Because obviously the last time we spoke to you was before the Liverpool game with Dan Lord previewing that fixture.
Sorry, 1 second.
Oh, Adam's disappearing off camera. Don't worry, I'll speak to Chris, mate. We'll talk about Villa Liverpool. You can lose your moments to do all the good things. That's what happens when you've got kids and family, you see. That's going to come across really weird on the audio, but Adam's just disappeared very briefly. We'll crack on with yourself then, Chris. So Moyes is basically, he's not spent a lot of money. He's bought, as you said, Coufal, Souček. Benrahma's currently only a loan, although we obviously understand obligation to buy. But this system has obviously come about where there was a real concern that off the back of the really good results in the more difficult fixtures that you had, would it work the same against sides that you would then be expected to beat?
Sorry about that.
You're good, Adam. Don't worry. 2 games in, 2 1-0 wins, Chris. You must be delighted with the way that it's going. Are you happy just to stay with this system now? Is there no change in the shape of that in terms of what you'd want?
I think it would be unwise. I mean, I don't think we're good enough defensively to deal with any team really. Lack of pace, teams with pace breaking on us, attacking us, especially the centre backs. You know, that we'd make mistakes. We're not gifting goals at the moment. I know that could happen, but in the current system, it's suiting everybody as a team. It's not just a singular player. And we played teams like Liverpool, City. They've not carved us open. They've not walked through our team like they were doing last season. And that's what the change of system has done. I mean, you've got Balbona and you've got Cresswell in that back three, and neither are renowned for their pace. But we haven't really been outdone by anybody. So they're playing with the actual players, or the team are playing within that system, and they're all working as a team essentially, which is something which has not been there for a long time. And that's what's been the major contributing factor. I don't see why we should change it, because against any teams we play, we have created chances. If we weren't creating any chances, then that's a different issue. But if you're creating chances, then why change it?
I want to come back on some of the individuals in a little bit, because the team feels quite settled at the moment, as did yours, Adam, because, I mean, your team, I think we all could have picked the Villa team going into the Brighton game at the weekend, literally no doubt on what the 11 would be. But before you got interrupted, I wanted to go back to the Liverpool game in the first instance. What happened that day from a fan perspective for you?
I've absolutely no idea still. I think the introduction of Barkley made a huge difference, and I think the one thing that Barkley can do incredibly well is press. He's so incredibly fit. When everyone was doing that 5K running challenge back in the original lockdown, I think he did it in like 16 minutes, but he's an absolute fitness machine, and he really suited that role. I think we when we talked about it previously, he was playing as a support striker. He was really helping Watkins press. And Villa, I think straight from the start, they attacked the high line. They used the pressing right at the start, created the first goal. And I think when we take the lead really early on, that does automatically change the dynamic of the game. And I think then going 2-0 up, and I think the real key thing with it is we didn't at any point sit back. I think at half time, my worry was, and I think Liverpool made an attacking change, which made them a little bit more open, but my worry was we sit back and then maybe end up with a draw. But we went for it, and we got the all-important fifth goal, which probably sealed it. And I think it was a really positive display, and I think I was pleased to see that from Dean Smith. I think it similarly worked at Arsenal, the high press. That said, not so much against Brighton, which was evident as soon as Barkley went off. I think he should have changed tactics, but he didn't, unfortunately.
We'll come on to them. Although I do want to comment on the idea that Ross Barkley being a fitness freak, and yet he always seems to pick up injuries. It's always been like that for him. No, in terms of the running side, I mean, he if you compare him to, like, so Traore came on for Barkley the weekend, and you could see the dynamic and what we were trying to do didn't work. It was the two very different types of players. You've obviously mentioned the Arsenal game as well. One of the strangest quirks of stats at the moment, and there are some funny ones working about at the moment, like Newcastle furious, big chances conceded, but most shots. Aston Villa, no goals conceded away from home this season, joint most conceded at home. Is there anything in that at all, Adam, do you think? Yeah, there is completely. So away from home, how we've set up, maybe the exception of Arsenal, we played a high press, and we did, I think, away at Leicester as well. We started with that, but we've set up to counter-attack. We counter-attacked very well against Fulham, very well against Arsenal. We seem to be more resolute, and we couldn't keep a clean sheet at all last season away from home. At home, I think the Leeds game, I think the Liverpool game, it ended up being a high-scoring game. I don't think we necessarily defended badly. The Leeds game, we had chances to get the first goal, and I think because we didn't, their fitness and the space that we left, and in the wide areas, really hurt us, particularly when they went 1-0 up. And the last 30 minutes, their fitness really, really told. The Southampton game, I actually think was a bit of a fluke, and I think that's been the one anomaly of our season. You look how Southampton scored; they were the better team first half. They scored 2 free kicks.
and they scored off a set piece. And then you look at the second half goal was an Ings wonder goal. But actually, Villa dominated that second half and created enough chances to probably nick something from it. So I think that game, we didn't really concede. We weren't conceding loads of big chances in that game. The Brighton game, tactically, Dean Smith, and I've talked about, I think he's got some things absolutely spot on this season, the Liverpool and Arsenal game. But I think tactically he got it wrong. I mean, you saw the high line that we had for the first Brighton goal.
It wasn't a high line, mate.
Wow.
There's no line.
Wow. Yeah. It was just, it was too simple. It was too simple. And I think that shouldn't have happened. But I think what the reason it did is he was very intent on trying to play high up the pitch and trying to replicate what he did against Liverpool and what he did against Arsenal. Barkley goes off in the first minute. He brings on Traore. I would have preferred him to bring on Hourihane and play a little bit more cautious. But the big thing is that Hourihane and Grealish have got a lot of chemistry. They've played together. Grealish has set up a lot of goals for Hourihane and vice versa. I think it was natural, whereas he tried to shoehorn Traore in the team, thinking the approach was, we'll outscore you. And I think he got it completely wrong, because Traore's pressing was nowhere near to the level of Barkley's. There were no late runs into the box, which Barkley's been brilliant at, actually. So, yeah, I think it really disrupted the momentum. And to happen 1 minute into the game, yeah, that was... It wasn't great, but I think he got the substitution wrong, in my opinion. I think, actually, when we go into the West Ham game and go on, I don't think he'll make the same mistake again. I expect Hourihane to come in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I spoke about this on Tuesday. I'm quite concerned about, and I think other FPL managers will be, the idea of Grealish missing his mate, essentially, in Barkley. Somebody who's on a similar wavelength, technically, in terms of link play. And obviously, they're the two closest to each other, essentially, from an attacking sense. Would you expect Hourihane to play? I mean, because Barkley's played like a shadow striker. So if Hourihane plays, is that a slightly different system then?
Yeah, it will be 4-3-3. I think the problem with Grealish the weekend when Barkley went off, he played a little bit all over the place and he kept trying to switch it round. And Grealish, we've spoke about his best position. I think for Villa, he needs to play a wide forward inverted from the left role, so he makes the most of goals and assists. And I think for England, he needs to be a 3-8 almost type of role to link the play and link up with like Sterling on that side. I think that's how, I think we're in different, I think particularly we need more goals from that area than probably whereas England have got the likes of Sterling and Rashford. I think the problem the weekend is that it just pushed Grealish out of his best position. At times he's playing as number 10, and actually he's quite ineffective as a number 10 because he doesn't get the ball on the angle. He's not running in towards goal. He a lot of the time, it's quite hard to play centrally more advanced. It just didn't suit him. And he was ended up all over the place. With Hourihane, he's got chemistry, and actually, over the years, they've linked really well together, because sometimes Hourihane will cover when Targett goes, and the Hourihane Targett and Grealish link is actually quite good. So I'd be hopeful to see that again. I think Barkley outdoes Grealish's appeal a little bit, but I think in a way he'll then. He'll still be our chief attacking threat, and with the fixtures, I still think he's a good option.
Agreed. I want to talk about both keepers, if I can, a bit, gents, because a couple of weeks ago I had a choice to buy one or the other, and of course I bought the wrong one. Changed my mind. Was Fabianski all the start of the week, and decided to go with Martinez because it was a clearer and more obvious, better run of fixtures plus a likely price rise. Fabianski, Chris, are you going really under the radar as a West Ham FPL asset, or is it a case that we should be looking at the cheaper defenders instead?
I'd probably say the defenders, because we don't seem to be conceding as many shots quite as before. So I've not looked at it, I must admit, but I don't know if he's getting the save points as much, because before if we kept a clean sheet, it was probably because he'd made sort of 4 or 5 saves. He'd probably get the bonus points. So he was a bit of a points magnet. Probably a lot of his points have been from clean sheets. We have had a lot of clean sheets considering, our usual standards. So I'll probably, he was 5, wasn't he, at the start of the game?
He still is at the moment, yeah.
I'd probably say the defenders offer a value because they're just as likely to get an assist or something extra than the clean sheet itself. And if they do, I know a few times they picked up a few bonus points, whether it be Coufal, whether it be Cresswell or something like that. But Cresswell's a bit more expensive. But I would say the fullbacks are probably the better value compared to the keeper. I think they're just cheaper keepers. That they all go through phases, don't they?
Yes.
Sorry.
You're almost better getting on the keeper that hasn't saved a penalty for ages. Although Fabianski's got a history of doing it, as we all know. And it's worth saying, look, 7-pointer against Man City in the 1-1 draw. He did share top bonus at Sheffield United at the weekend, although the BPS of 30 is potentially quite low to be hitting the joint top bonus there. Have you got a preference, Chris, between Coufal and Masuaku? Because me and Sud really disagree on this. He prefers Coufal. I would prefer Masuaku personally.
I think there's so little between them. I mean, on paper, you'd say, or on the eye test or whatever, you'd probably say Masuaku because he's technically, he's played as a winger. He's more attacking. He takes people on, all that kind of stuff. But I think Coufal was more efficient. So he's probably not going to have as many shots maybe as Masuaku in an attacking game. So I think Masuaku's probably got the slightly higher ceiling, but I don't think there is much between them. I think whichever one you pick, they're both going to offer up the potential for assists. Not going to be a glut of them, but they're both. I don't think there's a lot between them. If I'm honest, I've got Masuaku, but I'd be happy with. It was a toss-up really between him and Coufal. The only thing I'd say with Coufal is that if there was any, through injury or suspension, if there was a change to a back four, he would still be playing. That's the only thing I'd probably say.
Okay, yeah. So you'd think Cresswell would go left back, Masuaku would potentially come out of the team, basically. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that we'd change, but you don't know over this period.
No, I
of busy
think you probably already would have done if you were going to do that. And I just think it's such a winning formula at the moment that if he changes it, then if it goes wrong, people are going to be, what are you changing it for? So I only see the formation staying at the moment. As I've spoken on the pods, it's key to obviously get them wing backs higher. And I think it's been suitable. It was a bit better again against Sheffield United than it was against Fulham. So I think that formation will stick. And for you, Adam, it's kind of similar in the sense you've got like Martinez, Konsa, Targett, all slightly different prices. If you were advising someone to buy one of them now, particularly, what would your advice be?
Well, I bought Targett last week, but if I was doing it this week, I would have bought Konsa. And I think the reason that I bought Targett is I like the link-up play with Grealish and Barkley, and particularly against Arsenal, they look really good. And also with the home games and the fixtures that we've got, I fancied Villa really focusing on that left side. But I think with the injuries that have happened, and particularly the injury to Barkley, it probably brings Hourihane into the team. And the big plus with that is that he is brilliant on set pieces, and Konsa he always seems to get a chance or two from set pieces. So I think I'd go Konsa. I think Martinez is a good option, but his price is creeping up, and I think those that have got him already is a great set and forget option. And I think Villa will keep clean sheets, particularly maybe sometimes when you don't expect it and they're not as expansive. They seem to suit this sort of back to the wall approach, particularly away from home. So I'd go Konsa purely from the set piece threat. And I think with the delivery of Hourihane, his delivery is exceptional. In fact, that is a real big positive for Villa. The fact that, I say he's coming into the team. I'm hoping he's coming into the team because his set pieces are, they do make us such a threat. There aren't many that have got a better delivery, in my opinion.
It's really interesting hearing you say that. I didn't know that you got Targett because I'm rewinding not to the last time we spoke to you, but the time before in Correspondent week, and you said you'd probably go Konsa over Targett if the choice came round because of exactly what happened at the weekend. Obviously, Konsa scoring. So it's interesting you went the other way. I think your explanation for why is sound, and you're going to know your team better than than we do, mate. But so
I think Hurahan being out of the team as well, and that was a factor. But then it was also the just because we had all these home games that I thought we'd go for. I really thought we're going to go for it, and almost all of our a lot of our decent attacks come down that left hand side. So that's why I went for it, you know. But I think what I said on Konsa definitely still stands.
Are those 3 home fixtures, the next 3 home fixtures, if we go beyond West Ham for a minute, Newcastle, Burnley and Crystal Palace are the next 3 home fixtures. Are they good or bad?
No, I think they're really good. So I'm trying to think of how we did last year against them. So I think we beat Palace and Newcastle and drew versus Palace. So drew versus Burnley, which we should have won. I think there's some VAR controversy in that game. I think
not with Villa, surely.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're good fixtures because I think they offer so little in attack. All 3 teams. I think if you play it right, you get Grealish to dominate the game. And I think even the weekend we were a bit reluctant to just go through Grealish, but do you know what? It works because he's that good, and he frees up space for other players. So you need to play him in the right position. So I think if we set up to get the best out of Grealish, I see us winning. You know, I'd say it's probably getting 7 points from those games.
And interestingly, Chris, you've got 4 of the next 6 at home. Looks a bit tougher on paper. There's also Palace in there, but obviously you've got Villa, United, who obviously you beat last year, and Brighton at home as well. So you've got 4 of the next 6 at home, which I think the defensive comparison between both your sides at the moment is really interesting. Chris, do you own any West Ham defensively currently?
I've got Masuaku, yeah. So I've only had him a couple of weeks, I think.
And have you got any Villa?
I've got Watkins and Grealish. I almost had Martinez, but I didn't bring him in the end.
Not defensively. And same question for yourself, Adam. What have you got defensive between the 2?
Just Targett.
Just Targett. Any interest in West Ham defensively?
Yeah, when I was looking at Targett, I was also considering either Masuaku or Coufal. I was looking at that 4.5 range because I wanted the funds to be able to put in for midfield, so into midfield at some point. So yeah, no, I like West Ham defensively. I like what Moyes has done with the shape, and I think how he plays it. They almost seem as well, because he's got that 3 at the back. It gets rid of a bit of a threat of getting caught on the counter as well. So I quite like what he's done there. I think he's getting the best out of Cresswell as well. I think looks really, really good, particularly with all the stuff he's doing on set pieces.
Do you see him as an option, Chris, or would your thoughts on Cresswell just be a bit too expensive, maybe?
I think he's just expensive. I mean, I've got West Ham assets, but I think I've been burnt so many times over the years, and I know that inconsistency can come from nowhere with them. So having someone who's cheap, it kind of has it doesn't affect the rest of your team if it goes badly wrong, as it were. You've not lost out on somebody else, more expensive because you've spent too much. He carries the biggest threat because he takes set pieces out of all the defenders. But it's whether or not you really want to spend 5 million. It's a difficult one because if you've got him in 6 games' time or whatever, it could look like a shrewd asset to have. If we kept 2 or 3, or say 3 or 4 clean sheets, and he's got a goal or a couple of assists and things, which he's well capable of.
Some of the statistics would point you in a direction to say he's worth paying the extra, to be honest. And I think, to be honest, his open play crossing as well.
Yes.
I think even go back to the 3-3 against us, like the 2 of them with Masuaku on the left-hand side, if one didn't get you with the cross, it was like the other one would. It just became a real overload, almost a little bit of imbalance, but they team up really well down that left-hand side. And Fornals kind of floats into positions that allows them to get free, the 2 of them. I personally would still prefer Masuaku. I would agree with you, Chris. Going on to what Adam said about counter-attacks, Chris, do you feel this system completely eliminates it? Because same game, obviously in the first half of that game, it was a massive problem. But you haven't really been caught out in any other games in terms of transition and getting caught with people running at you. I think we lost Chris. Did you hear any of that, Chris?
Yeah, I think that's as much as the mid. I did hear it. Yes, I did.
Go on, mate.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So I think I think it's as much as the midfield, the two in midfield are part of that. So it's the team as a whole. But yeah, we haven't been caught out on the counter, and you would think that with, as I said before, with Balbuena, who's very very slow, he looks more comfortable. He seems to be more comfortable. So the players have it's given them a confidence that maybe they've not had before. So you don't get that nervousness when they are being attacked. I think it's a lot harder for teams to break through. There's always someone there covering. Coufal's made a difference because he's probably more of a proper defender, more so than Fredericks ever was. So he will offer you a bit of coverage there as well, and he'll get back. Masuaku not so much, but he does a job. So I think overall it's working. I think we played Liverpool, we played City, and they're both teams that will hit you on the break. I'd say Tottenham, they kind of went at us and they had some success, but they were good goals. But it was that wasn't really so much on the counter. I think you just attacked us and you just hit us. You hit us hard. But other than that, we've not really been hurt by anybody.
And Souček, he's still a great FPL asset, isn't he? Should have scored again at the weekend against Sheffield United. Don't know how he's missed. Obviously got the winner against Fulham. There's a lot of people had been holding on for that Fulham fixture for a while, so it was really nice to get rewarded. Do you still see him, Chris, as a great FPL option, or should I be looking to get someone else in?
I think he's fantastic because he's someone you could have as a fourth midfielder. You could play him every week. It's dangerous to drop him because he's one of those players that he's getting one or two chances every single game. And they're not just half chances; they're proper chances, And whether it be a header, whether it be, his goal against Fulham, he'll get in the box. He'll bust the gut to get in the box, and he'll get on the end. He'll get on the end of things. So he frees up so much money, and I think for 4.9, if he doesn't score, then you've not really lost out because you've got other players in your team that you can then invest in who are going to give you that. There's not many players that offer the threat that he does week in, week out at that price, in my opinion.
Do you own him, Chris?
I do, yeah.
Have you been starting him every week?
Yeah. I've not dropped him at all because I know he can. I know even last season he went on a run of scoring like 3 or 4 goals, didn't he, over a period of sort of 5-6 games. So that could happen at any time. It's not like he's not having any chances. If against anybody, he will get a chance.
No, I left him on the bench at the weekend. I think I'm going to again this weekend, and I'm well aware that any week that could slap me in the face. I mean, I've only played him against Fulham since the first game of the season, so I've been very lucky with it. But I think it is very lucky. I think you're right. I think it's probably got to the point with him where it's a decision for people. Look, is that going to be your first cover for if you lose someone through rotation or injury or something, or COVID? Like say, it would have been great cover for Wilfried Zaha this week, for example. Or do you get him in with another cheaper, a 4.4 or 4.5, and go, do you know what? I'm going to play this guy every week. And I think it's really valid. And when it feels like so many are trying to force in, like your likes of Grealish, Fernandes, De Bruyne / Sterling plus Salah going to come up, he's the one that enables. I think the issue is that you probably want, you can then fit in 3 people at sort of Bamford, Watkins and above, and he naturally becomes the fall guy that lands on a lot of benches. Have you got like someone like Brewster at the moment, Chris?
No, I had St. Maxim, and I've just left it. I tried looking at cheaper, but there wasn't really much around to make a saving and bring someone in, and I wanted someone who was probably going to play. So I've just left him, but I've been benching St. Maxim rather than Souček.
Have you got someone at that price bracket,
So
Adam?
I've just been playing him every week. Souček.
Sort of 4.5 to 5.5, Adam.
No, I've got Basuma who just sits on the bench, and hopefully will never make an appearance. So
no love for going up to Trezeguet at 5.3 then. More shots than anyone at the weekend. Unbelievable.
Oh, I don't know how he didn't score. He's actually, do you know what? He's actually playing okay, and I've been pleased with Trezeguet, and he's getting chances. He's getting into some good positions. He's having a lot of shots on target. But yeah, he should have scored the weekend, particularly that double chance that he had. I mean, that it was harder to miss, I think, with that
I think it was 7 shots, none on target against Brighton, I think. And like you said,
Yeah.
how he hasn't scored with that double effort, Lord knows.
Yeah, exactly. But he'd been unlucky a few weeks before. I think the Southampton game. He had like 4, which were all saved by McCarthy. So I think he's been getting into some good positions, and he's been working hard. And I think the goals will come at some point. You're probably unlucky not to be credited with, he's in the right place for the Arsenal goal. So I quite like Trezeguet. I think a lot of Villa fans are sort of endeared to him, particularly after effectively his goals are pretty key in keeping us up.
I think he's quite interesting at 5.3, considering the fixture run you got. I think there's probably a fear that it blocks you out of another better Villa asset when you can obviously go for a trio like Grealish, Watkins, plus the keeper or one of the defensive ones. I think that's probably largely why he's being really ignored at the moment. But I think if he was playing for someone else, there's a lot of people would be talking about him at the moment, potentially.
I think he's a bit of a rotation risk as well, because he lost his place to Traore when
the Southampton game, I think it wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so for me, I probably wouldn't go there. But he's playing well. He's showing promise. His stats are good. He's got to score at some point, you would think. So I've been fairly pleased with him.
And would you prefer him just generally to play over Traore at the moment?
Oh, I don't. From what I've seen from Traore, I've not been massively impressed. I think he's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and his delivery is very good for the Brighton goal. For the goal against Brighton. But I just think tactically, Trezeguet gives you more discipline. I think he just suits the way that we want to play more. I think Troy's a little bit more of a maverick as well, and I don't think we need that. So particularly with Grealish on the pitch, that's probably the last thing we need. So I would pick Traore over Trezeguet at the moment. I mean, that can change. I mean, to be fair to Traore, he's only been here. He's only recently signed. So that could change as the season goes on. But at the moment, it's Trezeguet's spot to lose.
And John McGinn, 5.5. Seems to have got a really good understanding with Douglas Luiz now.
I wouldn't pick him as an FPL option, but his performances have been, he seems back to his best, which is good to see. Obviously, struggled with his with injury when we were post lockdown and his return, but he's been really good. He's been really good since the start of the season. And he was he was another that was linking well with Grealish and Barkley and Douglas Luiz. So, I think maybe not for FPL, but he's playing well.
There's a number of people, Chris, who'll be listening going, when is James going to ask him about C.O.T.C Antonio? Because many of us are dying to know if he could possibly get back in the team on Monday, how soon, when can we go and buy him? Because he feels like the typical FPL striker, unbelievable value, fixtures don't matter and they're not overly bad at the moment. There are people I can see on my timeline that want to buy him now. Would you advise it?
It's risky because I was surprised he didn't make the bench on the weekends. So that it's all a bit of a mystery. And it's a hamstring injury as well. So he had that year, not last season, before that, where he came back last season where he was out for a long time. It's nothing like that, but is it going to be one of those things which flares up? He's so cheap in compared to, there's a few strikers I know that are that value, but I don't know. I think I'd want to make sure he was in the team before I brought him in. I expect him to be in the squad this weekend. I hope he starts, but I couldn't say 100%. I think even with the team news, it's a little bit difficult because he was expected to make the squads this weekend.
I think it's fair to assume he'll be in the squad now when they have further 8 days on when the game comes around from the Sheffield United win. But whether he starts or not, my instinct would probably be no. Would it be harsh on Allaire to drop him?
No, it wouldn't.
Brutal.
I'm happy for Allaire to start.
That speaks volumes.
The thing is, it's not. I feel sorry for Haller. I think he's obviously a good player, but he was bought by Pellegrini. He doesn't suit our system. He doesn't suit the way Moyes wants to play. He's not got the work rate to operate in that system. And when Antonio's there, even if Antonio's not got the ball, he's a nuisance. So that frees up space for the likes of Bowen, likes of Fornals, or whoever. So he just does a lot. He does a lot more. He works his socks off, Antonio, and he creates so many problems for the opposition that no defender really wants to play against him. And he's big and strong, so he can do a little bit of what Haller can do, aerially, but he's got so much more to his game. So as harsh as it is, you've won, you've just scored a winning goal. I think Antonio would be straight back in if he was fully fit.
One of the comments I regularly see from West Ham fans when they try and defend Haller is that West Ham have never played to his strengths and never played a system that works for him. But I still haven't seen anyone actually define what that's meant to be to get the best out of him. I don't know what that is. Have you got any idea? Is it two up front? Is it playing with Antonio? Is that what people mean by that? Or
I think it would be two up front, because when he was at Frankfurt, he had Jovic there, he had a really good season, and he was his kind of folly. So Haller would be sort of kind of dropping deep a little bit, not quite a number 10, but he'd be dropping deep, laying on those passes, or headers or whatever, and Jovic would just be bulldozing his way through or making the runs through, a bit like how you would expect Antonio. So they probably see that. The trouble is, it's not just about one or two players, and I don't think we can afford to play two up front because of the system that we've got.
I think now that would only be if you played a back four to do that. Or if you're chasing the game very late, you might decide to have one of the two wider players go and float in a 10. Perhaps if Lanzini was coming on and he took off, say, I don't know, Bowen and Fornals. Otherwise, I don't see that at the moment. So,
no.
What's your thoughts on Antonio, Adam?
Great. I think Moyes has made a great decision to put him through the middle. I think it really, really suits him. He's definitely a live wire. The nagging doubt with Antonio is the amount of fixtures coming up in such a short time frame. Are West Ham going to wrap him in cotton wool and protect him and bring him off early and really look after him? Because he has really struggled with injuries. And for me, I'm not going to be buying him for that reason. I think it's the wrong time. And I think particularly with the cooler weather and dodgy hamstrings, I don't think it's the right time to buy him personally when there's other options like Bamford and Watkins as well. So I'll personally stay away over the congested period because I'd just be worried he's gonna get injured. Really like him as a player, and I actually think he was one of the reasons for making the change of system. That I think that was how well he played at the end of last season. Because I completely agree with Chris. He just causes problems all the time, and he's fixture proof as well. He's completely fixture proof, but it's the injuries that put me off, and the number of games coming up.
It's an absolute pain in the arse, Chris. I think Adam's already spoke volumes by saying he would be well happy if he comes around Monday night and Antonio's not in the team. You'd feel better about that. And actually knowing he'd come onto the game, if the game's close, when Antonio comes on, Adam will be thinking, I'll sod this. But he's just, everything about him is just handful. He doesn't stop.
Mings and Konsa will be a lot happier if Haller's playing and Antonio.
Yeah, because it will suit in the style in terms of dealing with it aerially if it comes into his feet. Whereas Antonio, look, he's not got the best first touch in the world, but it doesn't matter. He bounces off him and just powers past people. He's a different beast from that perspective. I have to say, Adam, I'm not going to buy him this week. Not at all, because I just way too much of a risk. But it wouldn't bother me, literally one fit game, I think, to consider buying him, actually, Chris. Are you of that sort of train of thought at the moment as well?
I think, I would be, again, what Adam says really is I suppose the thing of rotation, I don't think there's going to be many players that are going to play all of the games, all of the minutes. Certainly, powerful players like him. But I think he's worth a punt, or you can call it a punt, when you've got the easier fixtures. But I'd wait. I'd be cautious on him, but I would wait until after the Villa game to see if he plays. Does he come on? How does he look? That kind of thing. Does he look like he's over his injury? But I don't know if I will bring him in, but I wouldn't be against it.
And what's your thoughts on Fornals and Bowen at the moment? Are they the best two in the support roles, or would you like Moyes to shoehorn Ben Rama into the team at the moment?
I like them both, Fornells and Bowen. Bowen, I would say, is the more cemented because he's got a clearly defined role in terms of how he plays and how he fits into the system. Fornells is, as I've kind of mentioned before, I think, is a little bit of architect of his own sort of doom, really, because he's a bit of jack of all trades and he doesn't seem to have a fully natural position. As we're playing in this system, it's suiting him better. As you said, it's freeing him up to come inside. He's not reliant on being out wide and having to do as much defensive work. He'll do it, but he's not effective at it. So his place is always going to be under threat from someone like Ben Rama, who's got a little bit more flair, I suppose, and an attacking output, and is more direct as an attacking player. But Fornell's his passing is so good, and I think he's a little bit underrated by a lot of West Ham fans.
I think he stepped up this season. I think he's done quite well, mate.
I think he's got the right attitude, and that's what I like. He doesn't make a big song and dance. He's kept working, he's kept trying, and he's not. Every time he's been out of the team, he's come back in and he's been effective. He'll create a lot, 2 or 3 good chances throughout the game.
His celebration of the goal at Leicester back in, I think it was game week 4, is one of the highlights of the season so far. His shock at what he just achieved himself from control and finish. Talking of control and finish, Adam, is Ollie Watkins just a big 6 bully?
No, not at all. I think that's just been how the particular games have gone. He's similar to. He's got some similar traits to Antonio, actually. I mean, in terms of work rate, he's incredible, and I think he's a constant. He's a constant menace for the opposition defenders. So really like him. He's been unlucky at times. He's missed a few chances that you'd expect him to score, but I think he'll end up having a decent season. I think he offers us a completely different dynamic to what Samatta and what Wesley did. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it's possible that when Wesley comes back next in January, that we could end up seeing playing out wide. We could, and I think that is a possibility for some games.
For Watkins, to clarify.
Yeah, for Watkins, I think that's possible because he's quite flexible in the front line. But I think irrespective, he'll get chances. He's I've been impressed with him. I think he's only played 8 Premier League games, and I think to achieve what he's done so far, what's he got 6 goals? I think that's a good return. He's on penalties as well, which is encouraging. So yeah, I like Watkins. I think it's encouraging as well. The goals that he typically scores are big chances. So with the likes of Grealish and hopefully Barkley not being out too long, he should still continue to get a good supply line.
And in your FPL team, I take it, Adam?
No, he's not. I've got Bamford. I've got a captain Grealish the weekend.
We know. I wasn't going to bring it up, but now we're here.
Yeah. Well, I try and shy away from putting too much hope on Villa, because I've been let down a lot in the past, and obviously we know what happened this weekend. But I think I didn't want. I just thought double attacking for me is too much emotional investment. And actually, I really enjoy watching Leeds play. So I thought having Bamford's an excuse to make sure I'm watching the Leeds games. So that was more of an enjoyment thing. I mean, I hope Watkins still does well. I'm not too fussed that I don't own him. But yeah, the Grealish thing, I mean, as soon as Barkley went off after a minute, I was regretting the decision.
I don't think many people need an excuse to watch Leeds, to be fair, Adam. They're good to watch most weeks. And it must be said, so's your own team this year, because I know those recent home defeats are probably very frustrating. I mean, most of us have enjoyed watching you. I enjoyed watching you again on Saturday. It was a good game with Brighton. I think you pressed high in the first 10 minutes and it was going really well and you got a bit excited with it, and then you're behind and it becomes a very different football match. I've enjoyed watching you nearly every game this season, actually, mate, which is a big difference to last season and the restart, mate.
I think in terms of us being in exciting matches, yeah, I'd agree. I think from a fan's perspective, it's been frustrating that we've put in great performances in certain games, and then ones where you'd expect us to maybe. I think particularly the Leeds game and the Brighton game. I think I was just disappointed with. I think the Brighton was the worst because I think Smith got it wrong tactically, and I think we were a bit maybe a bit ambitious, thinking, you know what, we'll outscore you. And in fairness, it could have worked, and we were. I think we deserved a draw from the game based on chances created. And it was our own. We were the masters of our own downfall in the game in terms of the definitely the first goal that we conceded. So yeah, well, I can understand why you've enjoyed watching us, but it's been. I think whilst I've enjoyed it at times, it has been frustrating.
My personal favourite was your Gameweek 8 game. By the way, I thoroughly enjoyed that one.
I'm sure you did. So did I, except for when the first minute in and there's a goal ruled out. But yeah, apart from that,
what's the realistic ambitions now? Because I understand, obviously, after Liverpool, it would have been right to get excited to think with the way the season has started, anything's possible. I think the home results probably dragged the realism down a little bit. What's realistic now for Villa this season?
I would like to. I think I would like to see us try and compete for top half, and I think it is realistic because I think we haven't drawn any games so far, so that helps in a way. Because so I think I would like to see us go compete for top half. I think the reality is we won't be in a relegation battle, which is, I mean, Chris will tell you that it's so much nicer. I think having. It was a horrible season last season, and for it to go down, I mean, this game is in far nicer circumstances than the one last season. I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster, but I think, just to answer your question, I think top half is possible. I don't think we'll go challenging for Europe or anything. I don't think we've quite got the squad to do that, but I think top half, is doable.
And same question, Chris?
Similar to Adam, and I'd say top half. I'd be okay with. I think where we are now, I know technically we're behind Villa. We are behind Villa, not technically. But if we can keep up the consistency that we are, don't expect us to win every game and beat everyone. But I think we could challenge for the top 8, and that would, if we got in the top 8, wherever we were in that, even if it was 8th, that would be an achievement, I would say, from where we are. Like Adam said, it's just nicer. You just have a different experience of the games when it's not all about, if we don't get these 3 points, we're in the shit, as it were. We're in the bottom 3, or we're 3 points away from being in the bottom 3. At the moment, we haven't got that concern. So it just makes the games that much more enjoyable, I would say.
I think both of you're probably on quite a level at the moment in terms of what your expectations are, your memories of last season, where your club's going, who your managers are, bar obviously the systems are obviously very different at the moment, but kind of happy the direction that you're going in. And I think you've kind of both touched on something that's really interesting, the idea of, because of what's happening at the bottom, with the bottom 4, and then still looking below you and seeing teams like Newcastle, and knowing, I think, and it's realistic to say, neither of you two are going to be involved in that as an issue this year. And it just means you can go and play games and have a bit more of a go. And I think it's the sort of game where this game coming up, if it had happened 6 months ago, where if it was 1-1 going into the final 15 minutes, you could imagine it would definitely stay like that. But I could imagine this time now, both teams will think, this is worth trying to win. And I think that speaks volumes for a lot of what's happening around about your kind of level in the table at the moment, that the 3 points pushes you into something. And at the moment, it only takes one team to go and win 2-3 games. You're back in the top 5-6. And then who knows? Then you start swinging. It's a mad season. If you can go and destroy the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal, Adam, you know what you're capable of on your day, right? And similarly for yourself, Chris, beating Leicester 3-0, Wolves 4-0. Teams don't do that until Liverpool go and beat Wolves 4-0 next week, and that'll go and prove a point, I suppose. But you know what I'm saying? You've both had some really good results. Adam, you've probably had more frustrating results recently. But that you're both heading in a much better direction than where you were in June, July. That's for definite. And you're not going to be in trouble. And I think at the moment, I see both of you finishing in a similar position, sort of 11th, 12th, with the ambition of top half is quite realistic.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair, yeah.
Let's do predictions before we finish up then. Guys, Chris, you're at home. Go for it.
I'm going to go for 1-1. I think it's a really tough game to call. Villa obviously offers a threat. They lack a bit of the consistency, but on their day, they've shown they can beat anyone. We've been quite solid, but I think sooner or later we're gonna let a goal in. So maybe 1-1.
And Adam?
Yeah, I fancy 1-1. I think it will be quite a tight game. Actually, I don't think it will be that expansive. So I think 1-1's fair. I think both. Do you know what? I actually think both. I think we'd be relatively happy with that as well.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to bottle it and sit on the fence. I will edge for a 2-1 West Ham win.
You can have draws in football. It's not sitting in the
yes, I've just said that with 20 minutes to go and it's 1-1. Someone's going to try and win it. So that's my thinking here. I'm going to edge for West Ham a little bit. I think the fascinating thing from this game is the impact on Villa without Barkley. Because I think it could be a really, really big deal on what the knock-on effect is for Grealish, Watkins and the others in that area. It could be that the simple solution, like you said, Adam, of Hurahan will fix the problem. But I suspect going forward, just without Barkley is going to be detrimental. I don't think we can look beyond that. And West Ham are only going to go into a stronger position, whether it be with or without Antonio on this particular week. So I think you might edge it, Chris.
Okay, I hope so.
I absolutely wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way, by the way.
No, it's one of those games, anything could happen, I think.
Good luck to both of you. Thanks very much, lads. Next week's Clash of the Correspondents will be with Gemma Eno. Hopefully, we might get an appearance from Harrison as well. And Migtavius will be talking West Brom and Crystal Palace. Palace quite quietly doing all right. West Brom have got a massive game with Sheffield United this coming Saturday. So we'll be catching up with Gemma and Mig to get all the latest on the Baggies and the Eagles. I'll be streaming on YouTube really early tomorrow on Friday, 9 a.m. and then again ahead of the deadline at 5:30 p.m. Other than that, just leave me to say thanks again to Chris and Adam. Good luck this week, everybody. Cue music, please, man child.